So your CAD assessment is going to be to create a Lego brick as seen in the diagram here, and from that Lego brick I'd like you to then put an assembly together and join some bricks together to make a corner. Now first of all you'll need to make this as a part. The video is not going to show you every single step. You are going to have to remember from the things that you've already learned in inventor lessons and demonstrate your understanding of inventor. So I've already got inventor loaded and I've already started my drawing. As you can see, I've got 15.8mm by 31.8mm, which is the size of a standard Lego brick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise that whole part to 9.6mm, which is the height of a standard 2x4 Lego brick. So I've got this bit. My next stage is going to be to create the circles on the top. Now they actually sit at particular intervals. If you have a look, they are not just randomly placed. They actually have measurements here that will help you to determine exactly where you need to position them. Now I'm going to pause this video for a moment. I'm going to draw some bits on mine and then I'm going to let you come and see it. However, you will have to do this part with no explanation. So I'm going to pause this now. So what you'll see is I've now got a square drawn directly on top of that. It measures 3.9 in and 3.9 up. That will form the bottom circle here. That is the centre point of where the bottom circle is. Now if we flick back to our drawing, let's get rid of this for a moment. If we flick back to this drawing, then we need to look at the radius of that, and the radius here indicates that it's 4.8. So I'm going to draw a circle that is 4.8mm in this part. So let's do that with the circle tool. When it goes green, it means that the centre is in the centre. Now that's far too big, so I'm going to use my dimension tool to adjust it. No, I'm not. Actually, I can enter the number when it comes up here, and that number is 4.8. Hit enter. Now that is exactly right. And then I'm going to trim the bits of the box that I don't want. Curve it being extended, trim or split as a dimension. Remove the dimension to conform it. So I'm also going to have to get rid of some of my dimensions. Right, I'm going to get back to you in a moment. Okay, so I've got rid of the dimensions and the bits that I needed to, the construction lines. So now I'm going to finish my sketch on that bit and I'm going to extrude it up, and the dimensions that I'm going to do that are 1.8. Now what I want you to bear in mind is that you can only do one of these at a time, so don't draw all 6 circles on your face and then try to extrude them all, because you'll only be able to do one at a time. So what I'm going to do is leave you to measure out where the others go and extrude them all up. I will get back to you when mine looks like that. So I'm going to be nice and I'm going to explain how I'm going to do the next bit, because it's going to be difficult to measure from the centre of that circle into the centre of the next circle to create where the midpoint of that is. So what I'm actually going to do with this is I'm going to go to a new sketch, which I'd done anyway by accident, and let's move this over. Right, for some reason, let's let's finish that sketch. Right, okay, I need to put a new sketch in on this face. Apparently I did edit that sketch already. Right, so I've got my 4 parts of my block, and now I need to make the ones in the middle. Now if you look at the picture here, okay, so we've got 39 by 39 will take you to that one. However, the centre is also going to be along the 39. Let's just ignore that. And what we're going to do is, if we add the 3.9 and the 8 together and draw a rectangle, we will end up with the correct dimensions for that part there. So I'm going to go and do that now then. Have to excuse the noise in the background, it's fireworks going off, if you can hear them. And then from there I can then draw my circle, and that is 4.8 again, like all of the others. Now if you didn't see how to trim them before, you trim that bit and trim that bit. Now this will come up with a message saying that you can't do that. Cancel that. What you want to do is you want to say finish sketch. You don't want to do that. And then you want to go back into it and edit it. And then right click when it's white, the dimensions, and delete. Delete. You don't need to worry about that one. And then it will allow you to trim off that excess bit there and there. Now you'll also see that you've got the remainder parts of that rectangle, so you might want to do those 2 bits as well. Now those dimensions are going to be the same, but they're going to be going in opposite directions. So I'm going to leave you, and I'm going to get you to draw the other 4 circles that you need, and I'll see you in a bit. So I've got my my brick, as you can see. It's got all of the 8 parts on the top, the circular bits. However, that's not the end of it. A Lego brick isn't complete without its underneath. Now if we go like this and look at it, it is a solid block. Now a Lego brick would not snap to each other without all of the innards removed. So that is this bit here. So my Lego brick looks much like that, and that one, and even this one. This is one of the shorter dimensioned ones, but we're making a regular brick, so we can ignore this bit. Now we need to draw this underneath, so you need all of the different circles, and these line up with the centres of these parts, and it's actually slightly hollow in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to start drawing that on the underneath and then extruding it out. So I'd like you to have a moment and think about how that is actually going to work. How do you think you might actually do that? So I'm going to start off by going in 1.2 and again up 1.2, because this is a consistent thickness all the way around to create that. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to hollow it out. Now I've got to work out how deep that goes, and I'm just going to do some maths, so I'll be back with you in a short while. So I found another image. The one that you have doesn't tell you how thick the plastic is, but it's actually 1.6 millimeters on this part here at the top. So what our brick measures currently from the top to the bottom is 9.6. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to remove 8 millimeters, and that will be right. So I'm going to start my sketch on this side, and I'm going to work out exactly where it is and remove that material, and I'll be back with you when I've done that. So I've got rid of that inside part, as you can see, and it's now a hollow block. So looking around the brick, you can see that it's got, ooh, if I could work out how to move this, it's got its 8 buttons on the top, and it's now hollow. However, if we go back to this image here, you can see that that's not quite where it finishes. So you've got the very, very small parts that jut out all the way along. You've got the cylinders that are cut into it, and then you've got these parts, and these parts are the same length as the entirety of the block, and they're what allow the blocks to fit together. So they fit in these gaps here, and that's when you press a Lego brick together and it makes that click noise. It's those parts going together. So we've still got those to draw. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do exactly the same again to create these little holes. So they measure 3.9 in to the centre. They're 2.6 radius and they're 1.7 deep. So I'm going to create one of them and show you whilst I'm doing it, and then the next one, or the next ones should I say, you're going to do on your own. So going back to the brick, we are going to try and draw on this face. Is that on the right face? Yeah. And rotate it around. So you need to do some maths here. Looking at that, okay, to draw on this, we're going to need to take away 1.2 from the 3.9 to make sure that we're drawing it in the correct place. There's inventor gone, there it is. So my rectangle tool now, in theory, this should be like that, and we can, do you know what, actually you probably don't need to do that. You probably, yeah, you can use the project geometry tool. So what that does is up here on the sketch you can project it, and as you can see where that circle is and you can see where the centre is. So actually forget what I was saying about measuring, use that because you know that you're exactly the right place. Now I can't remember what size I said that those circles were. They are 2.6. Okay, and then finish sketch, and then what we're going to do is we're going to extrude that circle. No, we don't want to extrude that. Now it's picking up because we projected the geometry, it's trying to draw that as a polo mint type thing. So let's edit sketch, and now we're going to have to get rid of our projected geometry, which I believe we can do. No, we can't do it that way. Let's just try that again. So it's not allowing us to do that. And that's not what we want. Right, so I'm going to get back to you with how to sort that out. Okay, so it was quite simple. All I did was click on this when it was white and delete it, and now I should be able to extrude that. So distance 1.7, but we want it to cut into the brick like so. And there you have it, it's your bit that's cut into. So I'm going to repeat that on all of the 8 sort of buttons, and I'll get back to you when I've done that. So now I've got all of those 8 sort of divots in there, and oops, I didn't mean to highlight that. So now you can sort of see that they're underneath there, and they do directly relocate with the sort of buttons on the top. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw some very, very tiny rectangles. If we go back to this image here, I don't think I can zoom in much further with this, but there's those little tiny blocks. They only measure 0.3 out and 0.6 sort of in length, and they locate in exactly the same, they've got exactly the same centre point here as the cross on the circle. So the centre point of the circle is the centre point of those very, very tiny boxes. So you're going to need to use a little bit of maths to try and work out where they locate exactly, and draw them in. I'm going to draw one, and then I'm going to explain it to you, and then I'm going to extrude it, and then I'm going to continue with the others. I'm just going to show you the one drawing, and I'm going to do it in advance so that you have to think about this, and I will speak to you in a moment. Right, so I was thinking about it, and that seems quite nasty to leave you in the lurch here with this. If you want to try and work it out, then please do, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a method, well, the method that I'm going to use. It's certainly not the only one. So I'm going to select the line tool, and as you can see, well, as you can't see at the moment, you should, why does this never go right when I go to film it? I'm going to start a new sketch on that surface, and I want to have it rotate round. There we go, that's what I was looking for. Now if I select my line tool, I should be able to pinpoint the centre of my circle when it goes green, and then making sure that the degrees says 180, which means it's going straight down. I can then click. If I zoom into that, you should see that there's a line that goes right the way from the centre of the circle to here. Now what I can do is, using the cross point where this bit matches up here, I can then draw half of this very, very tiny rectangle. So draw that. I'm going to draw it much bigger than I need to, and then I'm going to edit the measurements. So it actually comes away from the wall 0.3, and it is in total 0.6 wide, but because this is only half of it, this actually should be 0.3 as well. And then I'm going to do exactly the same on the other side. And that is exactly 0.3. So, oh, it's not. Yes, it is. So that's great. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to trim that line out. I don't need it. But it's constrained. So we're going to delete these found that the best way is to draw something random, and then you can highlight the one you want and get it deleted. So let's delete all of these. We know that that is the correct size now. And I'm going to trim that part. I'm going to attempt to trim this and see if it still works. I don't know if that will still extrude, but we'll give it a try. Finish sketch. Right, now I'm going to have to zoom right into it. And and I want to extrude it. No, I'm going to have to extrude it as the two parts, so let's go back a moment. Right, let's try extruding it now. Right, so this is another handy tool. You can pull it up using the arrow, and you should be able to pull it to a surface. So if we rotate round, that should be flush, which it is. Okay. So I'm going to do the same with the other side. I can't, can I? Because I can only do one part at a time. I wonder if I can extrude I can't extrude that one either. So I'm just going to have to draw another one. Right, let's go back down to this. This is going to take quite some time, and I can imagine you guys are going to get very frustrated with this. However, the task is to create a Lego piece, and as you can see I can't control that. And that's going to be all part of the fun and games that you're going to have to experience. Right, I'm just going to go in here. I'm going to draw my rectangle. Keeps on moving. There's all my rectangle. That didn't fit quite in perfectly in the corner. It's not actually a rectangle, is it? At all a line. It's a cube. So it's 0.3 and 0.3, which makes it a square. Right, this time I don't actually need to get rid of my dimensions and anything else like that. I can literally just go to extrude, and it does the same height as it did before, so I can just click OK. Now, if I zoom out, you should be able to see that that's that little part that comes out. Unfortunately, I think there's 10 of them. There's one that goes by each brick, and then 2 on the sides. No, that makes it 12. So you've got quite a few to do. I'm going to leave you with them. Okay, so I'm still doing this. It's taking forever. An alternative way you could have done this is, rather than cutting that rectangle out when we very first turned it over, you could have measured all of these parts out then, and trimmed off the bit that would be between those 2 points, and then just push the rest of it in. So that is an alternative way of doing this, but I'm stuck with what I'm doing now. If any of you copied my measurements when I was doing the first few of these bits, I actually had the wrong measurements, and therefore they weren't flat, so they didn't join up like that. So I hope that you haven't copied me, because if you have, you're going to have to go back into those and change them to 8mm, because that's how far it really needed to extrude. Anyway, I'm still continuing with this. I don't want to bleat on for too long, but yeah, I hope you're getting somewhere. I'll see you in a bit. Well, thank God that task is over. That's really that was a really long, boring bit of inventor. I do apologise that you've been given that to do, but there you go. Right, so last stage on the bottom is putting in the 3 circles, like you can see in the image, if it all there. Come on, Mr. Image. There we go. So these here. Now, they're going to be a little bit easier to do, I promise. So what we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to work out where they need to go. Now, we know that that brick measures 15.8 across. So we need to work out what half of that is. I'm going to leave you with the math. We also know that to this centre point is 3.9 as it's measured here. And we also know that to the other one, the next one over, it's an additional 8. We want to know what part way between those is. And if we know that that's 8 between them, we can divide that by 4 and then add it to the remaining half. So add half of this dimension here to that dimension there. So I'm going to leave you with that bit of math. I'm going to draw a rectangle that makes its way to the middle point, and I will be back in a moment. So if you did the math right, then you ended up with a square which measured 7.9. So what I'm doing now is I'm entering the first circle, which is the inner circle, and the next one I'm going to do is the outer circle, so I'm going to draw that at the same time. Right, so I've now got my 2 circles, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim off all of my excess, which also is going to mean that I'm going to have to delete probably, parts of my measurements, because otherwise they're not going to allow me to put my circle in the right place. So let's delete that. We don't need these measurements, we know that we've drawn it the right size, or at least I assume you have, and in the correct place. And then let's trim that bit. Right, now that I've finished that bit, I should be able to grow or extrude just that polo sort of shape. So let's get it into a better position. There you go, and we're going to extrude just this portion here. And we want to extrude at 8mm. Now it doesn't look like it's 8mm, but trust me, it is. Okay, it has to think about it. And now if I rotate around it, you'll be able to see that that is that part of that Lego brick. Now you need to repeat the same on the opposite side, and I will get back to you in a moment when I've done that. And then I'm going to leave you with a challenge. I'm going to leave you with working out the dimensions for this middle part. Actually, I'm just going to come back to you when I've done both of those bits. I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so hopefully you'd worked out that this circle here had to be in the centre of the brick, and as you know the width and the length of the brick, you could have worked that out reasonably easily. So what I'm going to do now is, and I still haven't quite got control of this orbit tool, is just have a look around my brick. Now there's one thing that's missing that's very iconic on a Lego brick, and that is the word Lego on each of the buttons. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at doing that onto the brick. However, I don't have the dimensions on that drawing. Okay, they aren't on there. So for this we're going to go with what looks right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause you whilst I Google a image of a Lego brick so that we can have a look at it exactly. So here's the Lego brick. So looking at it, the words Lego are written very small on each of these, and they appear, if you had the brick 2 across, that way round. So if the brick was portrait, then the writing's on there. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back into this, and we're going to try and rotate it the right way. So there we go, and therefore our writing would appear on here. So I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to I'm going to actually start sketch, and I'm going to start sketch directly on this circle. Unfortunately, I'm going to move it like that. That's a pain. Right, so there we go. And I'm going to add text. And I'm going to click roughly where I'm going to put it. Oopsie. Right, so I want it central and it's in capital letters. So I'm going to type the word Lego. Right, now that I've got that, you'll be able to see that this has got the sizes and this has got the font. Now I want it in italics, so I'm going to have to highlight it and go with italics. And we're just going to use Tamaho just because I don't really fancy searching through all of those fonts to try and find a more suitable one. Now I can tell you that 3.5mm is going to take up practically that whole square. So what we're going to do is we're going to say that we want it to be 2mm high. Now you have to have it highlighted at the time you do this because otherwise it doesn't work. We're going to click OK. Right, that is far too big, so let's go in and edit that. That's going to, can't edit it that way. Right, so we give it dimensions. Right, so at the moment it measures 6.5. I don't want it to measure 6.5 at all. The actual circle that it's sat on is only 4.8. So let's go with 3. Okay, it's not playing ball. This is when it always goes wrong when I'm actually recording, and it goes right when I'm on my own. This is no good. Right, let's just go back a couple of steps. Right, let's go again. Text. Okay. This is looking more promising. And it came up exactly the same again. I don't understand why this is not working. Right, I'm going to have another go on my own and I'll come back to you. Right, found the problem. The problem was that 3mm was far too big. So actually 1mm was perfect. So I'm just going to move my Lego word down and position it there. And then I'm going to extrude the word Lego. I'm not going to extrude at 8mm, that's far too far. I'm going to do something like 0.1. And now if I rotate this round, I'm hoping that you'll be able to see that it's slightly raised. Okay, and what I'd like you to do is I would like you to do that. The measurements were that the text had to be 1mm high, not 2 or 3, and that it's 0.1 raised when you extrude it. I'd like you to repeat that on all 8 of the bricks, and when I've done that, I'm going to come back to you too. Right, so to colour your product, what you want to do is you want to click on whatever you save it as. This solid part at the top will select the whole thing. At the top here, you don't need to worry about what menu you're in up here, but right up the top here there's a colour wheel with a blue triangle in it. Click down there, select a colour. I want mine to be red. Once you've coloured it, click tick and you will have it, and then you should be able to see your brick. It would help if I could get the right isometric. So you can see from all angles that it's all red all the way around. There we go. Right, I would like you to then go on to assemble the bricks. I'll put another video together for that, and I'd also like you to produce a working drawing. You've done one of those before hopefully, so you should know how to do that. Right, I'm off now, and well done for creating your Lego brick. See you later.